Welcome, everybody. I'm quite happy to be here and to share our experiences on applying DevOps in industrial environments. And the topic I'm going to talk about, from milestones to continuous quality assurance, is a very crucial aspect in this context. Before I start, just quickly a few words on myself. My name is Peter Fassbinder. I'm a principal expert for PLM process innovation with Siemens Advanta Consulting. I have considerable experiences, more than 50 years in Lean and Agile, and now for more than 5 years, I'm almost exclusively dedicating my time to the topics of continuous delivery in DevOps, and especially to the question, how can they be applied in industrial or regulated environment? I'm also quite active in the external community, though I'm always happy to share my experiences on conferences like this. And when we want to move in this direction, a company like ours or in other industrial organizations, we really need to address what's been shown on this picture, the stop thinking project, start thinking continuous value stream change. And this is a significant move. And you can see this if you really look at where a typical industrial organization is coming from and where we want to move towards these more frequent deployments. I mean, a typical industrial organization is coming from a project-based approach with projects running anytime between maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe even more, up to 1.5 years or maybe longer in between releases of new versions. Now we want to move toward these more frequent deployments, and even if you're not talking about daily updates, but for example, talking about product enhancements with every sprint, every 2 weeks, for example, or maybe even only once per month. I mean, we're always talking about at least an order of magnitude more frequent than where we're coming from. And this is a tremendous and significant change. What is also important, especially for the rest of the presentation now, I'm talking about this continuous value stream, which is shown on the right-hand side of the lower arrow in here. On the left-hand side, we have something I called Lean Startup, which means we already have released a minimal market product into the productive system. We had hopefully a successful initial market launch, and now we are addressing the question, and how can we implement frequent deployments, updates, enhancements of this minimal market product while it's already in production. And this is the basis that we assume for everything we're going to present when we talk about this continuous quality assurance flow. And moving in this direction towards a more frequent deployment, as already pointed out, has a significant change on a lot of the topics and areas within an industrial or regulatory organization. This ranges from the tool chain, from product architectures on the technology side, from new and change modified processes, responsibility, organizational potentially changes, all the way up to potentially redefining your business model, your relationship to your customer partners. And what I'm talking about in this presentation on this continuous quality assurance approach is one topic within the processes box here, but it's a very important topic. And it's a topic on how can we ensure and move towards a more continuous quality assurance approach in this so-called more continuous world of continuous frequent updates of the life system. And first, I would like to show you a few slides on the core idea, the core concept behind this continuous quality assurance that we developed in the last couple of years and by now have implemented successfully in several organizations. And then I'm gonna dive a bit deeper into how this can be managed efficiently in practice. This is a very important slide, as it kind of contains the key idea of the continuous quality assurance approach. And it's all based on the green to green mantra, which I hope you're all familiar with it. On the lower part of this picture, labeled continuous integration, that's again something where I'm pretty sure you're quite familiar with it. It shows basically the shift from a project-based approach to a more continuous value stream for the software. In the past, software was somehow created over a course of a couple of months and validated, And eventually, towards the end of the project, you had running software and implemented into the productive system. Today, with a continuous DevOps green-to-green approach on the software side, this looks very differently. You already have a running system up in production, and now you want to implement a very small change on a frequent basis into the productive system. So for every change you implement, there are two things you need to do. First thing is, of course, you need to identify whether it's doing what it's supposed to do, for example, some functional testing. But what is much more important is actually to ensure that this change does not break the running software, that the software system that is in production after you integrated the change is still up and running, is still green. This is the green-to-green approach. So this has the uppermost priority in this continuous integration, continuous delivery approach. And this is something where, of course, in the past decade, tremendous progress has been made on the tool chain, on test automation, on the continuous delivery pipeline, that ideally at the push of a button, every developer, every team with every code sheet, they can immediately identify and verify whether the overall system is still green. So this is great, and this is of course something you also need in an industrial environment, but it's not sufficient. Even if you have a perfectly running, fully automated tool chain, and with an instant the push of a button, you can identify whether your software system is still running after you implement a software change, you're not in a position to really deploy this into the practice system. Why? Because if you want to